Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam and this is where I talk about all things sewing, and today I've got a video about all the things that I made in the month of April. But first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far. If this is the sort of video that you like, please consider subscribing. I bring out videos usually on a Friday with Frugal Fridays, where I talk about all the free patterns, discounts and giveaways that I've found during the week. Been focusing recently on makes that are inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee, but I've got lots of videos in the playlist that cover lots of free patterns. Wednesdays I usually bring out tutorials and sew-alongs and tips and tricks, and then on a Sunday I usually do plans, makes, reviews and that sort of thing. So if that's the sort of thing that you like, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell and that will tell you when I've got new videos out. So on to today's video. So in April I made 5 things. I used 3 free patterns, 2 of them were from the same pattern, and then I did an upcycle. So some of them you may have seen before, so I won't go into too much depth about them, I'll just sort of briefly touch on them. But I'll start off with the one that you can see Mandy wearing here, and that is the Barton Dress. So if you cast your mind back to, I think it was January time when I was doing a Make 9 Plans video, I included the Barton Dress, but did actually say at the time that obviously it's a summer dress and until it was summer I wasn't going to be making it. And then saw lots of lovely Barton dresses come up on the Frugal Frocks challenge. So I decided to get it made and in time for some sunshine. This is a free pattern from the Peppermint magazine and it's designed by LB Textiles, so it's available as an A4, an A0 and it is also available as US letter size. Before you send it off for A0 printing, you can actually just print off the bodice, which I'll touch upon later. It is designed for woven fabrics. This is a viscose that I picked up at my local market, so it is a design that I've seen doing the rounds quite a bit, and I was quite pleased that I saw it on my local market for about £4 or £5 a metre, something like that. I bought 2 metres and it was just enough to make the dress. So yeah, you can make it in a linen or a chambray or a double gauze or something like that. So yeah, there's a few things that I love about this pattern. The first thing is the size range. It goes from a 31-inch bust up to a 53-inch bust. There is quite a good bit of ease in it. I think you've got about 11 inches at the waist and about 19 inches ease at the hips. So I went for a size D. I was between sizes. I could have gone for a size D or a size E. I'm a 37-inch bust, so my bust fell in at the size D. My waist fell in at the size E, but because there was so much ease, I actually went for a size D, and there's plenty of room in it for me without it being too baggy. And it is actually drafted for someone who's 5'7", so I didn't have to lengthen it anywhere neither. And the second thing that I like about this pattern is the lack of waist, which I mentioned earlier, and that is you can just print off the bodice, and the bodice part is only 10 pages, so before you send it off to the printers it doesn't require a lot of printing at home. If you were to print the whole thing, it is actually only 24 pages. So there are dimensions given just to draw the pattern pieces for the tiers directly onto fabric, so you don't actually have to print those pieces off if you don't want to. You can if you want to, if that's what you're more comfortable with. Sometimes it's easier to line it up. And like I say, if you were to print the whole thing off, it's only 24 pages. So yeah, there's a lot to like about this pattern. As you can see, it's very simple. It's just a sort of lowish scooped neck, sleeveless as you can see, 2 tiers, just goes below the knee, and then you've just got pockets in there, so it's always a bonus. And then I'll just swizzle Mandy around, you can see the back, and it's quite a low scooped back as well. So the neckline and the armholes are finished with bias binding, and I just use my continuous bias binding method, which it uses minimal amount of fabric. And I've just got a little tutorial about that, so if you want to look at that, I'll leave a link to that at the end. And I also use the method of using elastic to do the gathers as well. So although it comes down to just below the knee, this one, if you wanted a maxi version, it would be quite simple to add another tier on there and make it a maxi version, but obviously you're going to need more fabric to do that. I had 2 meters of fabric and it just worked out just fine with using that continuous bias binding method. I'd always intended using this Barton dress as a tutorial for demonstrating the gathering method. It's something that I'd actually mentioned in my very first video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I use elastic rather than the 2 rows of basting for gathering big pieces of fabric. I don't use it for sleeves and things like that, but I do use it for gathering large pieces of fabric. So I will leave a link to that for you at the end. That method's not my method. A lot of people have been saying it's my method. It's not my method, it's just something that I've picked up over the years. It's that long since I picked it up, I can't remember where, but I just thought it'd be useful for people to actually see demonstrated. So yeah, it's a good dress for beginners, is this. Nothing complicated about it. You've got no closures, you've got no sleeves to fit in. The only thing is, if you've never made anything before, then you might not have done bias binding before. I do have a video on how to do that. Yeah, I just use a simple fold over method. So yeah, really happy with it. It's a quick, simple sew for me, and I've actually got to wear this actually with an afternoon out with the girls. For restaurants and pubs at the moment, we're still having to dine outside. We can't actually go inside due to the regulations that we've got at the moment. So I did have a denim jacket over the top. It was still April when I wore it, but yeah, it's been lovely to wear. It's lovely and swishy, and I will insert some photographs of me wearing it. A little word of warning about printing off from Peppermint magazine, and I'm just going to read out what they have put. The software that they use to create the patterns is making PDFs 10 times smaller if it's opened in preview or Acrobat 1.5 or less. If you're not able to update your Acrobat reader to 1.6 or higher, then you need to scale the pattern to 1000%. I know that Rachel had Stitched Up had the same problem. I haven't had the same problem, but I think I've got the up-to-date Acrobat on mine. So that goes for this one and the next pattern that I'm going to talk about, which is also from Peppermint magazine, and that's the one that I'm wearing now. So this is the Ruffle Sleeve Top, and you can see it's just a V-neck top. It just finishes at the waist, and sleeves finish just above the elbow, and then you've got the ruffle that just comes just below the elbow. So this is quite a boxy fit top. This particular one was designed by In the Folds, and I made it from this broderie anglaise, and this is some fabric that I had given years ago. So I only actually had 1 metre of this fabric, so I managed to squeeze it out of 1 metre, and I did that by omitting the facings and using the bias binding technique. So I only actually made this as a wearable toile. If you watch any of my Frugal Fridays videos, you'll know that I've mentioned using this top as something that you could hack into one of the buffet dresses. So I wanted to check it for fit and make sure that it was going to be suitable before I actually went ahead and started doing that. So this size range, it goes from a 31-inch bust to a 53-inch bust, and there's about 5 inches of ease at the bust. I was between sizes once again. I should have been between a size D and a size E in the bust, so I went for a size D, and yeah, it just fits just perfectly for me. I imagine if you're sort of bigger busted, or if you're a bigger cup, because it is actually designed for someone who's a B cup, and that's my cup size, I would imagine you might be better off going up a size, but there is plenty of ease in this for me. It is quite a boxy fit. This is actually designed for somebody who's 5'7" as well, as is the Barton dress. That's designed for somebody who's 5'7" as well. So I didn't have to do any grading on either of these patterns. So they're saying that it can be made with a light to medium weight fabric, so cotton or a voile or chambray, something like that. They're also suggesting that you can use a silk or a viscose, and what I liked about that is that they actually put in the notes and the instructions that, you know, your different sort of fabrics will give you a different look. So something like a silk or a viscose will drape nicer over the bust. So it depends on what kind of look that you're going for. And then they do actually recommend using bias binding around the neck if you're using like a sheer fabric, because obviously you would see the facing. If you were using a sheer fabric, you'd see the facings through. But I thought it was a good option because, you know, instead of using 1.5 metres, I managed to squeeze it out of 1 metre. A bit of pattern Tetris might have been involved, but it's a good way of saving fabric is omitting facings. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. The only thing that I changed was, it's blurring out a bit with it being white, is that I found that the sleeves wanted to poof out a bit, so I just top stitched around the top of this ruffle just to stop it from poking out, and that's the only thing that I changed. I'm really happy with it. Again, it'll be another good one for a beginner. If you're a beginner and you're looking to advance your skills, trying out doing a bias binding around your V-neck, that would be a good one. And I was really pleased that I actually managed to fathom out how to get the bias binding around the V-neck. So I've put together a little tutorial about doing that as well, which I'll link to at the end. So my next two makes are from the same pattern, so I'm just going to get changed and I'll put one on and then you can see what it looks like on. So this is the flounced top from Dressy Talk, and I made the top version and the dress version. So this top version is just a remnant that I found in my local fabric shop, and it was somebody on Instagram that gave me the heads up about it, which I featured it in one of my Frugal Fridays videos. And I've done a full sew along for the dress version of it. So I won't go into too much depth about these two because I've already sort of covered them. But yeah, I made the top and the dress. And this top has got, I don't know if you can see it, it's got like silver embroidery running through it. It's really unusual fabric, but like I say, I found it in the remnants bin years ago, so you probably won't be able to find it. Dress version is made from some striped fabric that I got from work. I work at a fabric shop called Fabricate in Mirfield, and one of my jobs is to put the fabrics online and make a description and name them and everything like that. And when we got this fabric in, this micro striped, so it's just a lightweight cotton, I thought I'd just made this one and I thought, oh yeah, make a really lovely dress version of it. And it's quite similar to the actual images, which is on the designer's website for the pattern. So I was obviously influenced by the images that I saw online. I'm not on commission, but I will leave a link to that fabric below if you're interested in it. It is a really lovely 100% cotton fabric, is that. And I do like to leave links to things if I can, but more often than not I'm using things either that's come from a local market or things that I've had given and stuff like that. So that is just one that I can leave a link to. It's got some really unusual features as this. It's got these unusual gauze, they call them gauze, I call them gussets, in the sleeve here, which I think just allows for a bit of movement. And then the sleeves are finished off with your overlocker. So it's a rolled hem, but it's done on the overlocker, and I'd never done that before, so it was a really good technique for me to learn. And then I did put together a video, so if anybody else wants to have a go. So I'm really glad that I tested it out on this fabric. It only cost me £1.50 from the remnant bin, and when I was actually making it up, I was between 3 sizes. My bust sort of fell between 2 sizes. I'm a 37-inch bust. It was either 36.2 on one size and 38 on the other, and then my waist fell at the larger size, so fell between a 46, a 48 and a 50. So I printed all 3 sizes off, and the problem with this pattern is that it actually includes the seam lines, and there's no way of differentiating all the different sizes. You know, like sometimes I've got dashes and sometimes I've got dots. There was only dashes and dots that were signifying the cutting line and the seam lines, so it was a bit of a nightmare. So I was really glad that I printed it off, had a bit of a practice on this one, and I had to take this in quite considerably. So for the dress version I went down to the size 46 and it worked out absolutely fine. There is quite a bit of ease in it. You can see here that there's quite a bit of ease in it anyway. It's not a fitted tops. So yeah, everything that I've made so far, there's been plenty of ease in it, so they're not meant to be fitted. I wouldn't want to be tackling this one as a beginner, but if you watch my sew along and you want to give it a go, then it's not difficult. It's just that the instructions were a little bit brief. I think they've been translated from German perhaps. So thank you to the person who gave me the heads up on Instagram for these patterns. I really do like it. And one of the features on this is that it's got a seam up the front and you actually top stitch it down, and I actually quite like that feature, but somebody actually left a comment on one of my videos and said that they didn't like that. So that's one of the reasons why I experimented with the ruffle top, which is the one that I had on previously, just to see if it could be done, because I suspect the reason why that they put seams down most sewing patterns on a V-neck is that it's actually easier to insert a bias binding when there is a seam. It's easier not to go around that V. So I was quite pleased that I fathomed out how to do it, and I'll just show you a close up there. Let's see if we can do it so it's not bleaching out. How neat it is. And it's just like a quilting method that I used. So again, not my idea, it's just something that I've adapted. So really pleased that I'm doing these videos because it's making me think, it's making me work things out, and then I'm passing that knowledge on. So the last thing I want to talk about is my little upcycle or repurpose that I've done, and I made a video at the end of November talking about upcycling your me mades. I don't know about you, but sometimes you make something and for whatever reason you don't wear it. Either it doesn't fit right or it just doesn't suit you, and you don't know, you don't want to get rid of it. I don't like the idea of my things going to landfill, and I think sometimes charity shops can be a bit funny about taking things that don't have labels in, and it's quite difficult to let go. I think there's a lot of emotional ties to things that you've made as well. So I brought out the video in November talking about sort of 10 of the things that I was thinking of either repurposing or selling or doing whatever with, and the Fiona dress was one of them. So I'll insert a picture of me wearing it. And the Fiona dress has got a really very deep V back with cross straps at the back, which is the exact thing that drew me into the dress, is that design feature, but it's also the exact thing that stopped me from wearing it. And the reason I didn't wear it is it's a very fitted dress, and I've worked quite hard on getting the fit right. But when I was trying it on with a bra, and because the deep V at the back shows your bra, there was no way I was ever going to wear it with a bra. I just can't bear showing my bra, so I had to go braless, and of course things don't stay where they should do they? So it meant that I didn't wear it. There was no way I was going to wear it with a bra. I couldn't wear something underneath it comfortably, although I did try that, because it was too tight, it was too fitted, and wearing a cardigan over the top kind of defeated the object, because that covers up the feature of the dress, so it just stayed in my wardrobe unworn. And the fabric that I got for it, it's just this red linen, and that was given to me by the same person that gave me the broderie on glaze. So the fabric was free, and it was supposed to be a toile, was the Fiona dress, just to see whether I could get the fit right. And I did struggle actually a little bit with the fit over the top there, but I managed to get it right. But like I say, it remained unworn. So I made merry with a seam ripper. This is back in November, and I took the bodice part off it and then did nothing with it, until there's a challenge going on Instagram at the moment called the Tits Up Transformation Challenge, and they're just encouraging you to do exactly what I've done, which is repurpose and recycle, and anything that you've done that you've got wrong, they're encouraging you to put it right, get it worn. And there are prizes for it, so nothing like a challenge for me to get me motivated. I have mentioned this challenge on my Frugal Friday videos, but basically it's run by Little Rosy Cheeks and the Sew Yarn Crafty Studio, and there are prizes for this. There's prizes of PDF patterns, some online workshops, and I think some vouchers as well for the Sew Yarn Crafty Studio. There's lots and lots of prizes, and it's running until mid-June, about 16th of June. So yeah, I eventually got it done, and I'll insert photographs of me wearing it, but I'll just quickly show you up here. And I just repurposed the straps that went round and made it into a waistband, and did that additional button there as well. It wasn't a massive transformation, but hopefully I'll get more wear out of it. And at the moment I'm not wearing it because we've got funny weather at the moment, and it's May. I've ditched the tights, I'm not wearing tights anymore, so my leg's still a bit white from wearing jeans and what have you, so hopefully I'm going to get myself out into the garden this afternoon and get a bit of sun onto my legs, and I'll be able to wear it. But I tried it on, when I finished it, I tried it on with 4 or 5 different tops, including this one, and I think it goes quite nicely with lots of different things. Just a bit of colour on my legs and it'll make all the difference. So on that note, I'm going to get myself off in the garden while it's not raining and get some sun on my legs, I think. I'm not going to do a May plans video. I'm sort of going with the flow in May. I've still got 6 out of my 9 things to make. I'm still working on this upcycle, some of the upcycle things, and I'm also making things inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee, so I'm keeping it a bit fluid for May, dipping in and out and not keeping myself too restricted. Sometimes it's good to do that, isn't it? I will leave a link below to all the videos that I've talked about, the bias binding and the gathering, and how to do the rolled hem on the overlocker. I'll leave a link to all those below. So that's it from me. Let me know below if you've made any of these, or if you've seen any of my videos and been inspired to make any of these, if you've made the ruffle top or the Barton, and I shall speak to you later. Bye.